welcome to Let's Play Gran Turismo 3, episode 55. Alrighty then. Officially, it is now time for us to get through what I believe to be our final single race international B license event, and that is the Italian Avant Garde, considering the rest of the IB events in the Professional League are championship events, methinks. And officially, well, there's only one car I can officially use for this championship, and to those of you, event, and to those of you who are GT3 veterans, you probably know exactly what it is I'm going on about. So, I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm going to put on the semi-racing suspension this time, along with the sport brakes, because I figure that is necessary. And I'm also going to put on the racing exhaust, because I figure this is absolutely mandatory. And I'm also going to get myself the Stage 1 tuning engine as well. And I'm also going to purchase myself the Stage 2 engine as well, just in case. Along, of course, with also putting on the racing chip, and I'm also going to put on the transmission as well, because this is absolutely necessary for me to get through this, and obviously natural aspiration, so pretty much no room for a turbo. And of course, I'm also going to put on the super slicks, so I do not have to stop. And well, since this is the only stage of weight reduction I can really do, I might as well do this anyway, so I have an interval, and that's about the only stage of weight reduction we can fit to this thing. And gonna change the oil as well. And I think just because I want to, I'm gonna put on some different rims as well. Just to see what's available. Yeah, those were pretty much the same as the previous ones, so yeah, why not? Okay, let's now head over to the race. The Italian Avant Garde, and obviously 2 races because this is basically a one-make event, and officially 30 grand if we can win both of these races, and these are the cars we need for the event, and 30 grand if we can win both of these races, which is equivalent to a total of 60 grand, and the courses we are racing at for 10 laps are Rome and Rome Reverse. And this is the only Pagani Zonda I can use for this event officially. And I could also adjust the downforce if I really wanted to, but obviously I'm not going to do that. Even though I will adjust the speed on my transmission. And so, yeah, this is basically our competition. So it is basically Road Car Zonda versus Race Car Zonda for this event, basically. Hopefully, I do have everything I need to win this race. Hopefully. Here's to hoping and praying that I can win this race. And by the hopes of everybody else stopping in during this race, which I'm pretty certain they will, this is officially how I will manage to win this race. And at the moment I am off to a pretty bad start, as I would expect. Anyways, diving down the inside of the first of the Zondas, and I just got punted in the rear. Anyways, down the inside I go, getting a touch of oversteer as I exit the right-hander, but officially I am now up into 4th position temporarily, as of which I am just being bullied at the moment. this could possibly be harder than I think it should be. Because I'm driving a very loose race car at the moment. My car at the moment is currently very loose in comparison to these AI. But again, it was necessary for me to do the tuning. I think it's also fair to say that I do not have all the tuning I need for this event. Because as hard as it might be, I still suck. And it looks like I'm going to have to wait until these AI pit in for me to officially get into the pits. And there is only really one car I'm managing to overtake here at the moment, so I think it's fair to say I should have put on the Stage 2 engine. But again, I'm hoping and praying that these AI will pit, and then that is precisely how I will manage to take the lead. So managing to stay reasonably close to these AI at the moment. I'm not losing too much ground to the leaders. Gap is only 3 seconds. So I think for the first race, if I don't crash too much, which is basically what I'm currently doing, and these AI are not helping me at the moment, I'm hoping and praying that by the time these AI do get into the pits, that is pretty much when I can manage to make a move and take the lead. And as I expected, this thing, not necessarily as hard on tyres as I thought it was going to be, but at the moment I'm facing quite a competition. But again, these AI aren't extending their intervals too much, even though I am managing to keep up with the top 3 here on the normal Rome course, although I'm pretty certain by the time we get to Rome Reverse I'm probably going to need the Stage 2 engine, because I'm pretty certain this engine will not be enough to help me hold on to the lead, and at the moment I'm just driving like garbage. I'm just not able to get a threshold on this thing at the moment. Oh, for fuck's sake. Can you just fuck off? And stop trying to wreck my race. Yep, okay. I'm definitely driving in a powered car here. Still, this is just fucking carnage at the moment. It's almost like we're racing at Daytona, but ironically enough, it's not me that's doing most of the crashing. Even though at the moment I'm currently battling for 4th. But again, I'm basically beggingly and mercilessly praying that these AI pit, because if they don't, then well, my race is fucked. Because if they don't, then well, my race is fucked. And God, this thing is really fucking difficult to control. I still have no idea how I'm managing to hold on to this thing without going straight into a guardrail head-on, which is basically what I think is going to happen sooner or later. Even though at the moment I'm only really making contact with the barriers. They're not with these AI because they're just doing it for me. They're just getting me involved. Because they're basically fucked. Braking early so I do not. Slide into the wall this time. And as of which, at the moment, I'm literally pushing this thing right to the very limit. And oddly enough, I can only just say that by now I'm actually starting to attest to the competition. Because I thought for sure I was going to be dishearteningly slow, but proud as I might be at the moment, I'm actually not too slow, because I'm keeping up with his AI at a relatively steady pace, considering the gap is now less than 3.5 seconds. So I'm able to keep up with his AI through the corners, but again, they're still able to decimate me down the straights. I assume it's got to be because their tyres are worn, and that's ultimately the only reason why I'm managing to keep up with them. I assume it's got to be the tyres, because effectively I'm on the most durable tyres and they are not. Is what me thinks. But I'm hopeful in saying this will be enough for me to maybe get a shot at the win. Possibly. Anyways. We are now on to lap number 7, and already, as I predicted, I am closing in on this AI. I'm closing in at quite a vast rate of knots, because their tyres are being worn. And I think now that I know the tyres have officially warmed up, I can now say that I am starting to get a grip on this thing, so perhaps it was just because I had cold tyres on this thing, and that was the main reason why I just wasn't able to get a hold of the handling, but now that these tyres, I would presume, have warmed up officially, what I can now say is that I would think by now I am pretty much more or less a contender for the win. I guess it was just because my tyres weren't warmed up properly, and now that they are warmed up, I am starting to get a stronger understanding of how this car really works. I improve on my best lap time by, I think, 1,000th. Even though I just fucked up in the corner. It's fine, because as long as I can say I've managed to keep up with his AI in the first race, then that does give me hope in saying I can maybe win the second race. So I'm still getting snaps of oversteer every so often, but at the very least, I can now say I am competing for the race lead, and as of which I am now down the inside of the second section of crossing corners. The Zonda does go around the outside, and officially I am now up into the lead. For the first time by a quarter of a second. And I think it's fair to say that I have pretty much done everything I need to do for the first race, and I'm pretty certain it would be on this lap where these AI will pit, and then effectively that is exactly when I will probably just extend my lead if I manage to hold on to it. And got a little bit of oversteer there. I'm still continuing to get some oversteer, but I've managed to catch it back, and officially this car works better with a racing transmission than it does its normal transmission. Anyways, all I can really say at the moment is, well, I'm staying competitive. And as we now head down into the third sector of this lap, I'm braking early so I do not get some oversteer before entering the corner, and managing to keep it all nice and tight. And as I expected, these AI are now coming into the pits. So evidently their tyres were not able to last the distance, and ultimately that has now pretty much left me out there to dominate the rest of this race. Even though pit stops are pretty quick in this game. So I would imagine they'll probably claw back some time on me, because that's probably what they'll do, but I'm pretty certain for the race win itself, there is probably no chance of me losing this race unless I make a major mistake, but I would say by now victory is pretty much guaranteed. And officially I now enter the final right-hander here at the normal room course, and officially, by default of tyre longevity once again, I have just decimated the opposition. So, I think I'm going to keep the film running, because I would imagine they'll definitely close in through that final sector, considering I would imagine it's not going to be too long before they cross the line, so I'm just going to wait for them. And I won by 24 seconds over the nearest Zonda race car. Then 26, 27.4, 27.6, and then the last of the finishers was pretty much 28 seconds behind me. So there we go. The road car Zonda has beaten the race car Zonda, at least in race 1. I'll save it at Rome Reverse. Anyways, race number 2, and where officially I'm pretty certain I will need to do some tuning before we start this, because officially this is going to be harder, and I'm pretty sure I will need a stage 2 engine if I'm going to win this. Because I think these AI will probably be less likely to pit on the course than they are the normal course, methinks. And I'm pretty certain these AI probably will be more competitive on the race course than the normal course. Considering I did also put on a stage 2 engine as well for this particular race, because I knew these AI would be stronger. And officially, I can now say I am pretty much a contender for this race, pretty much, and around the outside I go, driving a very loose a C12 at the moment, but once the tyres have warmed up, this car will eventually come into its own. Considering that is one thing I did eventually manage to discover the hard way. And I did of course put on the Stage 2 engine for this race because I knew these AI were going to be harder to beat on the reverse course. And I did also do an oil change just in case whilst I changed the rims because I figured that too was crucial. But again, I'm managing to get the advantage on the straights and oh! Jesus! Jesus Christ! What the fuck just happened there? I did not expect that to happen. It just fucking harpooned me into the wall, it did. Fucking hell. I did not expect that to happen. Then what the fuck was he thinking? I did not expect that to happen. I'm now behind this AI again. But again, it's fine, because since I have a Stage 2 engine on for this race, I would imagine it would not be too long before I can officially re-overtake his AI. And oversteer is not at the moment. In terms of how much oversteer I'm getting at the moment, I'm getting a shit of a lot. And I may even consider getting my revenge if I have to. Although that is not looking likely because his AI at the moment appear to be on the grippier tyres, and that's the only reason why I'm down in 4th at the moment. And I'm still not able to get a hold of this thing at the moment, but again, as we go further on into the run, I'm pretty certain I will manage to get myself closer and closer, methinks. Even though at the moment, this race is basically proving to be a demolition derby. At the moment. Hopeful and saying that I will manage to win this race eventually. Considering obviously these events aren't anything cheap. And am I closing in? Okay, closed in slightly on that up, but again, I'm still not confident enough to say that I will officially win this race, because I don't think the AI will stop in the pits in this race, but if I can manage to overtake him on poor pace later on into the run, then maybe I could be a possible threat for the race win. I hope. Even though at the moment things are going terribly, because this car on cold tyres, it is just dreadful. Once I fit new tyres onto this thing, but then once the tyres manage to warm up, the car appears to be operating better than lots of people think it would. I think I've done everything I need to do in order for this thing to be good. So I'm hopeful in saying this thing will be good enough, and no matter what I can do, I cannot get through that corner flat out. And because I know very well I'm going to basically miss the corner anyway, I or just overshoot the corner. I just had to use the outside wall. Some people may call it cheating, but at the moment I really don't think I have any choice. And I really don't care who complains to me about me cheating, because at the moment I really don't have any choice. Because this race is basically just a crash fest anyway. By how much these AI have just been constantly wrecking me. And oddly enough, I've pretty much had to trade some pain to myself just to keep myself in this thing. Because of how frustrating it can be, and as much as I really don't like racing this way, the truth is at the moment there really isn't anything else I can do. Because you won't always expect me to be a clean boy every time I do these races, because there are times where I too have to trade some paint. I mean, I'm able to keep up with his AI down the straights, but through the corners, I'm just terrible. I might as well admit that. I mean, this car is just fucking terrible when it goes through the corners. But once I manage to get a grip on this thing, I am able to see where the major differences are. Once the tyres have truly warmed up, I start to notice a difference in handling, even though I'm still being constantly cursed with oversteer. Although with pretty much any rear-wheel drive car, it's virtually unavoidable. Some people may think it happens regretfully, but for me, I call it striving. It's basically striving for me to try and see if I can do whatever it takes to win the race. And then if I do manage to win the race, I basically have a sigh of relief. I'm braking early for the corner, so I do manage to make the corner this time. And the gap is now 1.2 seconds, or just under 1.3 seconds, to the leading Zonda. And as long as I don't bottle this, or get caught out by the pavement, then I might be able to win this race. So, gap has built up very slightly through those corners, but obviously at the moment what I can say is, well, I'm doing a pretty good job at the moment. And I think 4th gear is probably the best gear I can use when I want to get through the corners, and well, that's exactly what I'm basically doing. And I am trying to see if I can win this race fair and square, but at the moment I really don't know about this. Even though I am pushing very hard with this thing to try and see if I can somehow win this race, because my handling through the corners is just terrible. Oh shit! I did not think I had to go for the dive there. I did not think that dive bomb was going to work. I had to be very stupid to pull that off. Very fucking stupid indeed. But oddly enough, it was stupid enough to work. And I wouldn't have really called that one a last-ditch attempt. I would have called it more of an act of desperation. Because that's essentially what it was. It was an act of desperation, basically. And all I really have to do now is just hold on to the lead. Okay. I think I've managed to get a grip on this thing now, since the tyres have officially warmed up. And it's taken me pretty much 7 full laps to understand what exactly the car is fully capable of. Braking early so I can make the corner, and got a little bit of a bounce there off that inside patch, but at the moment all I can really say is, well, once you know this car is pretty much on the asphalt, that's pretty much when you know for sure the car itself is going to be capable of adapting to the conditions, and since I have now proven that is the case, I can now safely say for sure that I am winning this race. I mean, on new tyres this car is basically dreadful, but once the tyres eventually manage to warm up during a stint, depending on knowing how many stints you have during a race with this thing, that's eventually when you know for sure you are going to be a competitor for the victory. And I'm hopeful in saying that the Avant, in comparison to the race of Turbo Sports, will officially be a clean sweep. Hopefully. Anyways, final lap, and as I anticipated, the first of these Zondas, the first of the race car Zondas, is now in the pits, and is probably going to fall to the back, unless everybody else pits, but I don't think that'll be the case, because the finish line on the reverse course is basically before. Because the finish line on the reverse course is basically before the Pagani entry, because this is the reverse course. But I think the pit boxes are still in the same position. Anyways, exiting the final corner now, entering the final sector of the lap now, which is the first of the two Coliseum sections. And the gap is now 10.1 seconds to the first of the race car Zondas, and I'm pretty certain it will be the road car that beats the race cars. So rounding out the final corner, and the Italian Avant is a clean sweep. Let's now wait for everybody else to finish. And see how much I run that by. 12.7 seconds. So they must have... So their tyres must have been shredded at the end of that run, and that was the only reason why I managed to take the lead. and then eventually dominate the rest of the way, basically, because I was on the most durable tyres. There we go. The Italian Avant is a clean sweep. And officially what I am now going to do is save the replay. Alrighty then, so let's now move on. And what prize card do we get from this? We get the Zonda race car. So officially, this is the prize we win, and as of which, this game can really know how to fuck with you over certain prize cards you win. And, well, in some cases, I am willing to admit, it does do that with me. Also, furthermore, it has my racing number, the number 24. But yeah, that's the prize card we win from this. Ironically. And unsurprisingly, the Zonda race car. And so, I think that is the last of our single race events, as of which the remaining events here are basically championship events. Anyways, so we are now 46.5% complete, or 46.5% complete with the game now, and this is our prize car, the Pagani Zonda race car. So the car that we basically beat in that event using the C12S is, unsurprisingly, the prize we get from this event. And also, furthermore, this thing is running on Michelin's. Alright, anyways, I'm done. And so, next time we shall be doing the professional Vitz/Yaris race, which will also be our first championship event in the professional league. And so with that, stay tuned for more of GT3 and the Pink Vitz.